This is, I guess, part 2 of chapter 4 of Godzilla Creepypasta. So, yeah. Oh, speaking of the pits, down into the water, the game has a platform element, bottomless pits. There weren't any of these in the original game, since it was strictly an action game. But the pits were a neat addition. After getting back on land, I encountered a very unexpected mini-boss, Magma, the walrus Kuju. I know this game had some obscure monsters to begin with, but wow, not that I'm complaining. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool cameo for an unexpected Kanju. Magma's fighting tactics were very simple. He had a freeze beam and he could charge into you. Not very challenging, but certainly more entertaining than Mango Mini-Boss in the original game. One really interesting thing about Mango is that he doesn't die when you defeat him. He turns tail and retreats. This was the first time I have ever seen any monster change direction, let alone retreat. I tried to chase after him, but he disappeared after I got into the water. Poor little guy. And that does it for the Arctic. I'll talk about the Magma fight next. So I forgot to mention it before, but the music that played during the new monster fight is reused from themes actually in the games. So far, the themes have been Tyrannosaurus, Gizmo music, Thundernuts, Handsome music, Orga, Dragon Monsters music, Mega Volumes music, and Space Godzilla, Mega Godzilla's music. As for the fight, Magma was a fairly crafty opponent. When I realized one tactic was affected, it would immediately change to a different one. Amanda used quite a few tricks, like spitting fire, biting, and the most ignorant of all constructing. It doesn't mercilessly drain your life down like Cuddle, but it was by far Amanda's strongest attack. One last thing to note that I found pretty cool was that Arcturus showed up during the fight to help me out. Magma crushed it with ease, but it was still cool. After I slayed Magma, I played through the Arctic level for health power-ups. And then it was on Gangnam's replacement when the fight started. I was very confused because there was nothing there. I thought this was going to be like the Tyrannosaurus fight in Pathos, but just about the time it would have been going back to the map, a piranha appeared on screen. But it wasn't there for long. As soon as it appeared, the speakers emitted an ear-splitting screech, and not Ganon flew it in and ripped the poor fish into pieces. Well, that's one way to get the player on their toes. That urban entrance scared the heck out of me, and got my adrenaline rushing, which is respectable was a good thing, because not Ganon was one of the fastest, most unrealistic opponents in the game. Not Ganon was tough, but my new skills with endurance helped to even score. This was still an intense fight. Not Ganon's attacks considered of some kind of blood laser he spews from his mouth, and a downward slash. I was expecting some hellish version of the bizarre attack, but thankfully there didn't seem to be one. The Howl attack was invaluable in defeating him. I would have taken more screen caps of the fight, but I really had to concentrate. After that, there was just one monster left to take down. Space Godzilla, as mentioned earlier. I used Godzilla for this fight. Space Godzilla fighting technique was rather frustrating, but admittedly a very clever idea. Space Godzilla would use his energy to create 2 flying crystals, which would reach the ground and become crystal sprites. These sprites not only block you from reaching the Space Godzilla, but it also allowed him to constantly reach through his full energy and blast you with a deadly, fully charged thunder beam until you broke the sprites. Space Godzilla would eventually drain his own sprites of energy until they shattered. But if you waited for that to happen, you'd probably lose a lot of life. Heat beams actually seemed to re-energize the sprites, so you had to use physical attacks. When you finally got close enough to hit Space Godzilla, he was no pushover. When I punched him, he hit me back just as hard. Space Godzilla does everything in his power to knock you back to the left corner of the screen so he can create more sprites. By the time this was over, I only had about 5 life bars left. But it didn't matter because I didn't need to fight anymore. I needed to run. Here we go again. I decided right then that I really wanted to see the end of this game. As terrifying as these levels could sometimes be, I had to beat them to get through. I decided that no matter what happened, no matter what the game showed me, I was going to get to the end. And I also made sure not to say a word while playing a chase level from here on. For this chase, I tried out Angus since his roll attack allowed me to move faster than Godzilla or Martha. The chase started off like the first 2, except there was a river of blood below the ground. I was beginning to get a hang of it, and the extra speed from the roll helped me get an edge on the monster, especially since I didn't have to worry about power limit. And could keep rolling essentially. Like the previous levels with water, the ground invisibly reached this stop, so I rolled off into the blood. To my surprise, the hell beast didn't follow me after me. I just stopped at the edge of the ground and grimaced. I guess I can't swim, I thought to myself. So I went under blood, and it continued moving. There wasn't anything around, but I knew something the chase wasn't going to end that easily, could it? Surely something else had to show up, and sure enough, I heard the blowing roar sounding slightly different. And the monster was following after me in a new aquatic body. I had no idea it was a shapeshifter after a reappearance. The chase started to get into the difficulty I had expected, being submerged slowly down, putting me and the beast at about the same speed. The only thing that would keep me alive was fast thinking and reliefs. I encountered some bottomless pits in which mines flowed up from. I assumed that if you hit one, it would damage you and knock you back. Considering how fast the red monster swims, hitting the mines would be instant death. So when I thought great effort to avoid them, but that wasn't all I had. I had to be wary of. Halfway through the chase, the hellbeast revived yet another surprise. The tentacle formation of insane and tipped with a claw set of jaws burst from his mouth, trying to trying to pull me in and devour me. I only barely avoided both of the tentacles and the mines, but I could tell the beast was getting desperate because the chase was nearly over. And about a minute later, I had spotted a big ground that served as the exit. I leaped with all the might I could muster without breaking my controller. The beast screamed with rage and jumped out of the blood river in one last attempt to drag me down, but I escaped its grasp this time. I fell back on my bed and took a deep breath, selfish with yet another successful escape. Now I was headed to the fifth world.